I'm going to take a look at the Pospisil hit on Adam Larsson, and I'm going to use it as an example of all the things that happen when you're going in to make contact. I talk a lot about angle of approach and some of the decisions people have to make approaching contact. And people tell me there's no way a player can think of all that in that short a span. Things happen too fast. You're expecting too much of them. But I think this is a good example of how much players think about to force contact. So I wonder why they can't make the same decisions to soften or even back out of contact. And here's what I'm talking about. This hit happens over at the far boards. This player was at the opening faceoff, and within 5 seconds, he's all the way over at the far boards making this contact. And not only that, but he didn't just travel in a straight line. So many things happened in that 5 seconds, which is why I love hockey. Things move so fast. But you might not really think about all the things that have happened. So here the puck is dropped. It comes to the Calgary defenseman, and it looks like he's going to get set up to dump the puck in. So Pospisil is watching that, and he's going to turn to his left in anticipation of that dump in, following that trajectory. Then the dump in happens, but it's a lot further than he thought. So it's going to wrap all the way around. So now he's going to veer to his left. He hasn't even finished getting on the old path of travel he decided to go on. Now he's going to shift even more to his left to track it more towards the corner. And then it wraps around the boards, and he realizes it's actually going to come all the way up to the wall. So now he's got to change his trajectory a third time, and he sees that now Adam Larsson is going to be getting the puck. As a right-handed shot, it's unclear based on Adam Larsson's angle of approach. Is he going to go up the boards, or is he going to turn back to his backhand and take it towards the back of the net? As it becomes clear that Larsson is going to stop up, he's not going to skate towards the back of the net. Now Pospisil has to change his angle of approach again. Now he's got to veer back more to his left, but he still wants to get out on Larsson's right shoulder. So he's still going slightly towards the corner, but not down towards the corner anymore, going towards Larsson's right shoulder. But now Larsson has turned, and he's going to play the puck up the boards on his forehand. So Pospisil has to adjust again. Now he's going to turn to his left to get out in front of Larsson's chest so he doesn't hit him from behind. And then he's going to have to veer quickly back to his right to get out in front and push Larsson in the chest or shoulder. Of course, all this happens way too fast. He has to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different mental decisions and angle adjustments on his path of travel. It's not just a straight arc, and he doesn't quite know what's going to happen until about 3 to 4 seconds into this game. Remember, the hit happens 6 seconds into the game. So he has less than 2 seconds, really, to truly prepare for contact, let alone decide whether contact is actually appropriate or not. Because remember what Larsson does, too. Larsson has changed position twice now, and there's a third time, and he still doesn't know what he's going to do. But he hits him anyway. So when you just look at this hit in isolation, you see Larsson's numbers are facing him. He's coming from an angle of approach that's close to the back, but he actually does a really good job of getting up the ice far enough to try and come back, and at least contact is from the side and the shoulder. We can also see that Larsson does stop up and turn his back to the play, but he does rotate and put himself sideways, but he's allowed to make a play on this puck. He's not really eligible for really solid contact because of the proximity to the boards and his position, which he's allowed to be in. He doesn't need to abandon the puck and protect himself. It's not his job. He knows he's going to get hit. He's willing to take that hit to make this play, and it is what it is. It's up to Pospisil to make it safely. And I am trying to give Pospisil credit here for making all these minute adjustments on the way, trying to make this as safe as possible. But I have to question when he decided he was going to make contact, because it doesn't look like it's a really viable option right now unless he gets out on the front shoulder. And then Larsson changes, so it's definitely not viable right now. It's straight into the back. And then is Larsson going to rotate up the ice and then stay that way, or is he going to just stay right where he is? And can you get out in front in time? So maybe a full body check right now isn't the best option. Your best option right now is to put your stick out in front of Larsson's and try and stop him from clearing it up the ice. And as you turn, instead of turning back towards Larsson to hit him in the chest, with your left shoulder, why don't you make that turn to your left and then angle him off with your right shoulder? See how Pospisil right here gets in a squat and starts to make a tight turn to his left? If he stayed on that trajectory and then came towards Larsson on that angle of approach, towards that stanchion at the front of Larsson, and had his stick on the ice and made an attempt to block that pass, this would be no problem at all. Why doesn't he keep his toes pointed up the ice on this perfect angle for contact and to prevent Larsson from skating up the ice, plus give yourself a shot at stopping that pass by reaching out with your stick? That's the decision that should be made at this point with all the information he has. But he has obviously already decided that checking was his number one option instead of trying to get that puck. Because instead of staying on that trajectory, he flips his feet right there, goes back to his right. And from that angle of approach, he is not out in front nearly enough to come sideways enough to push Larsson backwards instead of towards the boards. So instead what he does, he's still skating towards the boards, but he rotates and tries to push forward to make sure Larsson goes at least backwards some instead of directly into the boards. But it's too late. He did not have the right angle of approach. Right here, like I said, his stick should just stay on the ice. He should just reach in front of Larsson, rotate to his left, and use his right shoulder for contact. But instead, he does the exact opposite and tries to come out from the front, but he's not out in front enough, so Larsson goes more towards the boards than towards the corner, and that danger is created not by the positioning of Larsson, but the angle of approach by Pospisil. All in all, this hit could have been way worse, and I'm trying to give Pospisil credit for doing the wrong thing the right way, if you know what I mean. But when you think about how many little decisions had to be made in such a short period of time and how uncertain things were, even right up to a second or two before contact, you have to accept sometimes as a player that maybe hitting isn't the best option, or at least a full-blown body check isn't. Maybe you just have to decide to angle and rub out instead of driving a player into the boards, unless you're 100% sure it's the right choice. As it is, I would call this a 2-minute minor for boarding and move on.